Creepypastas, internet's horror stories. Hello and happy Halloween. Today, for a very special Halloween event, I'm going to be taking you on a journey of a creepypasta that I used to hear when I was a lot younger. So, grab your Cyndaquils and prepare for the story of Pokemon Lost Silver.
You see, I am a simple college student living alone in an apartment. I was very enthusiastic about the release of Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver when it's here in the States. I have purposely locked myself out of all media and the internet aside for school purposes. That means no 4chan, no V/, no Bulbapedia, etc. As I was busy with the school year and being poor at the time, I wasn't able to buy Soul Silver on its launch date. After my school year ended, I ordered Soul Silver on Amazon. However, it would take a week for it to arrive. I decided during that time, I'd replay my crystal version on my Game Boy Color. However, I realized that long ago, my mom threw it away because I told her that the save went dead, and I was very upset about it then. She also threw away my silver version, so all I have is my Game Boy Color. As such, I set out to GameStop and bought a used silver version, as it's the only Pokemon game left that they have for the GBC, $10, fairly cheap. I went home and started up for a nostalgia trip. However, that's where things started getting bizarre, and most likely the reason why you're reading this. The Game Freak logo started up as normal, but it just froze there. I thought the cart was errored or something, so I turned it off and on. And then, the same thing happened. I tried pressing A and start over and over, and all of the buttons. Eventually the logo vanished, and there was a black screen for 5 seconds. Suddenly, rather than going to the usual menu screen, I was already in the previous save file, which was odd. I was expecting all these carts to have been wiped by the poor battery. Either way, I wasn't complaining, as I would have chosen the continue option to see what the previous guy had done anyway. First off, I checked his trainer information. His name was ... He didn't have much originality. I checked his profile and apparently he had 999 hours put into the game, with all 16 badges, 99999 Pokédollars, and all 251 Pokemon in the Pokédex. Seeing as he apparently had Mew and Celebi logged also, I was guessing he'd either use a Game Genie or was a really hardcore Pokemon player back then. I checked his Pokemon to see what badass team he had. To my surprise, I saw 5 unknowns and a 6th Pokemon named Hurry. I'm thinking, this must be some cruel joke by the person who played the last game. But I decided to check the profiles of these Pokemon anyway. As expected, they were different letters of unknown, all level 5. I was a bit shaky with my unknown alphabet at the time, but I identified the word spelled out to be leave. As a 6th Pokemon, it turned out to be a Cyndaquil. Mind you, this is before the individualized Pokemon icons. The Cyndaquil looked normal, but it was level 5 with only 1 HP, with only 2 attacks, Leer and Flash. I don't know why they named him Hurry, but at the time I just disregarded it. The most eerie thing was that despite my volume being at max, none of the Pokemon had their usual cries. Just pure silence. Having enough of the team, I closed it. I was parked at what appears to be a room inside Bellsprout Tower. However, for some reason there was no NPCs around. Even more eerie was that the pillar in the middle didn't move at all, as if it's just leaning on its side. There was no music, and there was no exit or ladder, or at least I thought there wasn't. I walked around for a few minutes, but couldn't seem to find a way out. This was certainly not a room I've seen in the Bellsprout Tower before. I tried checking my items for an escape route, but the bag was completely empty. There wasn't any wild Pokemon either. Finally, I managed to find the ladder, which turned out to be behind the pillar. The screen turned black, and then it finally started playing. I had a sudden chill, as I recognized that melody I heard to be the theme you hear when you listen to the radio at the Alph Ruins, where the unknowns are at. I immediately realized that it wasn't a loading transition, but rather I was in a dark room and wouldn't need flash. Before I took care of that, I immediately checked my Pokégear to change the audio to something more pleasant, but it turns out that there was no radio card, or even a phone, nor time cards. There was only a map card in which Gold, ... from earlier, and I will call him Gold from now on, was just walking amidst the black. I recall Cyndaquil had Flash, so I turned off my Pokegear and made Single use Flash. I didn't see any message saying, "Hurry, use Flash," or anything like that. The room just became lit just like that, and I soon regretted it. The room was a chilling blood red with a linear gray path heading south. The ladder I used to go up and down were not there at all. I had no choice but to go south. It screened on darker every 20 steps I made, until finally I made it to the end, which appears to be a sign. I read the sign, which said, "Turn back now." Suddenly, I was asked the answer yes or no, but there was no question asked. I chose yes, as I didn't know what it was asking, and the screen went black again, making a ladder climb sound. The unknown radio music stopped, and in a few seconds it was replaced by not as creepy Pokey Flute radio music. I was in another dark room, but I held my breath and used Flash again. Suddenly it said, "Hurry has fainted," which was odd since I recall there was no status conditions like poison on him, and I certainly wasn't in battle. I checked my Pokemon quickly and suddenly he's no longer in my party. In fact, after a bit of investigating, none of my Pokemon are there, but instead replaced with level 10 unknown. I did the same thing as before and spelled out the unknown. My team unknown spelled, he died. Either way, after that creepy change, the room was lit to reveal it's myself in a very small room that appears to be only 4 square big. The walls of that room was gray bricks, as if I was inside something that was hollowed out. Outside that room appears to be a bunch of grates, similar to the ones for Pokemon Red and Blue. I've walked around that small room and pressed A, but nothing happened. I've already concluded that this was clearly a hacked game, and some sadistic fuck sold it to GameStop. However, my curiosity kept me going. I checked the trainer's profile of ... Again, only to find out that the sprite of Gold had his arms missing. He also appeared to be less smug, but rather seemed more sad and empty in a way that I don't know what to describe. For some reason, it also said he had 24 badges, which was clearly impossible. After a few minutes of aimless wandering, my character suddenly spun and did the escape rope spinning animation. Instead of flying up though, my character spun downward slowly, as if sinking. After that scream, the music stopped. After finally landing, the overworld sprite of Gold is colored differently now. Instead of the usual red recolors he dons, he appears completely white now, including his skin, as if he came straight from the Colors Game Boy games placed in a colored background of the Game Boy Color. I checked his profile, and now as his white as his overworld sprite, he lost his legs and has what appears to be bloody tears from his eyes. It also says he had 32 badges, which now starts to disturb me, as this change of numbers seemed to represent something important. I also checked my Pokemon, which this time contains 5 unknowns and a level 100 Celebi without a nickname. The unknowns are this time level 15 and spelled out dying. I checked the Celebi's profile. It was a shiny Celebi, except it's only half of the sprite. 1 leg, 1 arm, 1 eye, and it only has 1 attack. Perish Song. The area I was in itself was a Sprout Tower with the immobile pillars as before, except everything is apparently red now. I walked north for what felt like forever. Eventually, I finally encountered some generic men and women NPCs. They were all lined up to the side, just facing the long slantish pillar in the middle. They were also white, and nothing happens when I try to speak to them. I kept on going north until eventually the pillar finally appeared chopped off, with a transparent red in that spot. I went up to red, and without even pressing A, I was suddenly engaged, and finally in a battle. The music starts again, which just sounds like the unknown radio music again, but played backwards. Gold's battle sprite matches his front, one with the bloody eyes, white skin, lack of arms, while Red sprite was the same as before in gold, silver, and crystal, except transparent. The text simply said, "Wants to battle," as if he has no name, and both of us only have 1 Pokemon each, which is weird as I swore I had 6 with the unknowns. The shiny Celebi came out, conveniently with half a sprite for the back sprite also. The shiny noise animation was different, as the sound is made sound like multiple screech attacks used consecutively. Red sent out a seemingly normal male Pikachu, except he's level 255, and his sprite seems sad and has tears in his eyes. Rather than the usual fight, items, Pokémon, and run menu, I was only given the option to use the attacks. Since Celebi only has one, I chose it. Naturally, since Pikachu was level 255, he went first. Pikachu used Curse, lowering his speed and increasing his other stats. I'm not even sure if Pikachu could learn Curse. Celebi used Perish Song. In 3 turns, all Pokemon get KO'd. Not like I have a choice. At this point, it even goes back to the fight menu, as the battle just continued without me. Also note, there was no animations at all for some reason. Pikachu used Flail, which didn't do much damage despite his level 1 boost, as his health was maxed. Celebi used Perish Song. Nothing happens as it was already used. Pikachu used Frustration, which did a ton of damage, knocking Celebi down to less than 10 HP. Celebi used Plane Split, which surprised me as Celebi didn't even have the attack in the first place. Now Celebi and Pikachu have about 150 HP. Pikachu used Mean Look. Not like that did anything. As expected, due to the effects of Perish Song, my Celebi fainted, except the text it said, Celebi has died. And instead of the ordinary drop-off screen animation, the Celebi back sprite just vanished. For some reason, the Pikachu was still up even with the Perish Song, and it didn't count as my loss. Pikachu used one more different attack beyond the 5 attack limit. Pikachu used Destiny Mode. Afterwards it said Pikachu has died, with a slow fade out animation. Apparently, I was the winner. My parents' red sprite showed up and said ... At that point, I just freaked out, as that transparent red sprite was suddenly beheaded, leaving nothing but his transparent body. The battle then ended, and that point and faded out along with the music. I'm back in the overworld, with another change in the gold sprite. He's now as transparent as Red's overworld sprite. I quickly checked Gold's profile, where this time the only thing that remains of him is his head, with a transparent skin. The head was zoomed in a little bit, showing a black void in his eyes. It now stated that he has 40 badges. I then backed out and checked my Pokemon. They were all level 20 shiny unknowns, which when spelled out read, no more. I was at what I know now is next to the end. There was apparently no music playing, but for some reason I still felt like there was, and it could be heard. I was back in my room in New Bark Town. Maybe finally, I get to play this game properly. But who am I kidding? I knew that this sick fuck must have done something. I walked around my room to interact with things, as I'm a bit afraid to go downstairs and see what's awaiting me down there. No, I said it walked. As while the background was moving, Gold was not moving his transparent limbs at all while doing so, just floating, like those ghosts you see in Diamond and Pearl. As expected, the radio, computer, and TV did not work, so I had no choice to go downstairs. I ended up in the same lower level room of my house. Everything appears normal, except Mom isn't home. After failing to interact with anything in the room, I decided to go outside. To my surprise, the door leading outside of the south didn't work, and instead, I just walked through it to avoid. I continued moving south to see what the fuck was going on. My health vanishes as I head south into the void. It was creepy, as when I entered the void, the outline of Gold's transparent sprite turned out white to contrast with the pitch black. Eventually, I reached a white area, and Gold's sprite turned black and transparent again. I continued south without thinking of stopping at all. After a long trek south, I finally encountered something. It was Gold's regular sprite. I talked to it, he said. Goodbye forever, ... Another with a space in between forever and the dots, and vanished. As it happened, it said, !????, use nightmare, which at that point, I would not deny being possible. Gold did another escape rope animation, spinning slowly downward like before. I'm now into that small hollowed out room, surrounded by graves earlier. Or at least to say I was back there, as there was no sprites anymore. I tried to walk around, but nothing moved, not even the wall bumping noise. I checked my trainer profile, but there was no Gold sprite left. It said I have 0 badges, and all the pictures of the Johto gym leaders in the bottom were replaced with for skulls. I checked my Pokémon, which were all level 25, unknown. As expected, it spelled out a phrase that I dared to read. I'm dead. As soon as I went back to the other overworld, the room I supposedly was then covered in the same blocks as the walls. I then read out what exactly that room was trying to. Then the final text was said, RIP. That room was a big grave, surrounded by other big graves. Gold had already been dead. He died profusely a few years after he defeated Red. He was a younger trainer, who despite his efforts in collecting so many badges and attempts at becoming a Pokemon master, was still unable to avoid the inevitable fate of death. And his efforts were eventually forgotten by the next generation. I was unable to escape from that text no matter what I pressed. I tried resetting the game, and the same thing happened, at which I then finally decided to give up on the horrible nightmare. After that experience, I will never look at the gimmick unknown the same way again. They say that the only first generation have folk tales and legends, but the second generation have shown me how unpleasant the truth can be. I eventually enjoyed Soul Silver immensely, but I still can't unthink what that rigged game has told me.
Did you enjoy the video? Why not like? And if you want to, why not subscribe? That's it for everybody, and I hope you have a fabulous night. Happy Halloween, like I said, and I will see y'all next time. Adios.